and that Gila is dropping pretty quickly.
Yeah, he will go down, yeah. So, 2 frigates still alive on their own inside.
I think for most people, this is a pretty big upset. TNT was not really expected to come out over Ronin, who were a real tournament heavyweight. And this obviously is going to, even if they lose here, this isn't the end of the line for Ronin in this tournament. But TNT managing to, I think, surprise a lot of people and really prove their naysayers wrong.
Yeah, I'm surprised by this for sure. I'd selected Ronin on my little bracket here of fail because I'm really bad today. But Maula's taking some damage. He might go down as well. The EOS is pulling back some armor, hanging in there. But yeah, TNT have a pretty solid grasp on this match. Their control bar is, I think, partly what won them the match. They really did execute, though. Their anti-frigate strategy was not exactly as effective as they'd like, but they did well enough, I guess. I mean,
well, it got them what they needed, because remember, they lost the initial Dampor. So they actually lost the first Dampor, but then they managed to get a kill on Amalis, and that's what started to swing that control bar, well, the non-newt parts of the control bar up a lot.
Right.
Of course, those newts would have applied once they got within range no matter what, but being able to kill off Molluses and Harpies and Merlins is always very powerful. And we're seeing really the Heretic and Tawar wing of this fleet acting in almost complete independence from the larger ships.
Sure.
So they're off doing their own thing. They're just killing the frigs, and they probably have a separate FC. There's probably someone in charge of organizing what they're doing, and that's something we see a lot of good teams do, where they split up the whole team into different groups that are working independently, but still towards the same shared
typically
goal.
You could have like an E-War FC, you'll have the actual damage FC, and then you've got the support work, you know, the guys, the frigate pilots or what have you. We have that Maulus clinging to structure, buzzing around at 3,800 meters a second. He's going awfully fast. Heretic of Shaz just picked up speed again. He's running away from some of his damage, but he's in low structure. The EOS of Lord Carvajal.
Yeah, he
I
is.
Get that one. He's
still holding on.
Those EOSs are actually surprisingly tough. I'm really impressed with the way they've been doing it.
It's lasted him a long time. I think he is going to go down. He does still have some drones on him from a heal. Actually, though, the last drone I think may have just died that was on him. So it's possible he's just not taking any damage, and we might see him hold on for the rest of the match.
That Heretic slowly but surely getting whittled down little by little. That Maulus now from Morgul is desperately clinging to life, and he is gone. Yeah. So the Heretic of Shaz, I think, is going to go down shortly after. Actually, the Tawar and Lidanio is, I mean, Ronin are still trying. They have not thrown in the towel here, but there's not much hope left for them. I really don't see a way back. So I guess Tactical Narcotics team, after losing a Nyx, got a little fire lit out of the rear ends and came out to avenge themselves somehow on somebody.
Yeah, and this is a very convincing victory, too. I mean, they came up against what we've just been talking about as the kind of setup of the moment. This is this command ship and Gila setup is something that we're seeing a lot of good teams use. It's sort of the most talked about comp out there. And TNT comes in with lots of newts, lots of anti-frigate, and manages to very convincingly defeat it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see 2 Armageddons. We were talking about this earlier at the desk in between matches, that 2 Armageddons isn't a lot of points to invest. It really is. The ship's not overwhelming DPS. It does reasonable damage, but it's just such an awful lot of points to put into 2 ships, and questioning whether that's effective. But it obviously was in this case, even against Sleipnirs, which as most people probably know, is autocannons don't require capacitor to fire, or nor do artillery. So any guns that are put on a Sleipnir are still going to fire. You're still going to do the damage, but what you do shut off is the micro warp drive and the hardeners, so you make it a softer target.
And crucially, the links. So even before you kill it, you're actually reducing the effectiveness of the entire rest of the team as well. As that next Gila dropping off the field, it's just going to be a crow left for the Ronin. And yeah, this is, I think, a very convincing victory for TNT. The EOS of Lord Carvajal there holding on in structure, and so is the Heretic of Shaz there. And they just now have 1 target left, which the Heretic is going to probably try to pick off with his light missiles. Yeah, although he only has 25 seconds to do so.
He's going to boundary violate, or he's just going to run around in circles, it looks like. And save the crow for the losers bracket where they are headed, and we'll they have a match tomorrow then, huh?
Yes. Okay. They're going to be into the losers bracket, where they have to face many more matches to make it to the finals than if they kind of advance further to the winners bracket. That's, of course, one of the big penalties for getting knocked into the losers bracket, is it means you have to fight more matches.
Awful lot more.
Means more money you have to spend on your ships. It means you have to give away more of your secret setups and give more time for people to kind of feel out what type of team you are.
More pilot fatigue. So
especially on those final days.
Well, congratulations to Ronin, to Tactical Narcotics team, who knocked Ronin down into the losers bracket. We'll move on in the winners bracket and have a much easier road from here. With that, I guess we'll toss it back over to the guys in the other room, and yeah.
Welcome back to the other room. I think that with this victory, TNT proves that they haven't been stumbling around in the winners bracket.
This was definitely a good showing by them that I predicted, actually.
We have some local scoop, and I actually mean from local in-game, that the Ronin team claims that their logistics pilot disconnected, which is terribly unfortunate, but there's little we can do about that. We haven't confirmed it yet, but if that's the case, again, that's very unfortunate.
I mean, even if the Logi did disconnect, I think it would have died anyways. I mean, Ronin actually won the Logi trade. They killed the Onirios, and before their own scimitar died. And at the same time, they actually had their Sleipnirs neutered by the Geddons. And later on in the match, we saw the Geddons pilot somehow out of their minds and get newts and tackle on the Gilas that were going 3 times faster than them, I'd say.
Yeah, in the middle of the match, you said that it seemed like they still had a chance with the Gilas. Ronin did, even after they'd lost their Sleipnirs and their Logi, and my first reaction was like, nope, like it's over. And then we started looking, and it seemed like actually there's really no reason that the Gilas should die. They're so much faster than the only thing left was the Eos and 2 Geddons, and they should have been fairly safe just running away. But somehow one got caught by neutralizers on one of the Geddons, and then of course he dies. But
and then the second one as well, they just kind of seem to be skirting around, trying to keep range well, but they managed to get themselves neat tackled by the Geddons, and that's it. No MWD, no kite.
So do we think that the TNT team, like the Geddon Eos core, is the counter to the Sleipnir Gila core, or not?
I think when piloted well, I think the Gilas will have a really tough time killing the Geddons when they've got smart bombs in their hands.
Yeah, so they did have smart bombs actually, which is pretty neat. I think that's sort of an adaptation that they did because they saw all the sentry drone boats were kind of banned out. They threw a bunch of smart bombs on their Geddons. Didn't really help too much against the Gila drones.
We were talking about the smart bombs definitely have a place. They're good against certain things, like really good against Vexors and Navy Vexors and some other ships, but they're actually really bad against the Gila drones. Gila drones are incredibly tough and hard to kill, so it takes like a billion cycles to do it, and then they actually have a lot of them as well, so they just send out a new flight. There probably is ways to counter Gila drones if you want to, but the smart bombs were probably not the best way to do it.
But still, a really well thought out team by TNT. Like it doesn't look flashy. I don't think anyone's going to like copy their team and run it again, but it's well thought out, well executed, and they win again.
They put a large red X on all of our papers, and we're pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Except for mine.
Damn.
No, TNT are one of those teams that have definitely kind of come almost out of nowhere and really impressed us. I think each year we get kind of 1 or 2 amazing miracle run stories, and I think TNT are looking to be our kind of big new team onto the AT scene this year.
You actually are right in that. Like in previous years, we've seen like RVB do really well, come out of nowhere. Agony is one of those teams that came out of nowhere and kind of have proven themselves. TNT, I guess they're here for now. They're staying in the winners bracket, sending Ronin down to the elimination bracket.
They're the new team to be annoyed by the Cinderella stamp.
Indeed.
I think so.
It's also nice, a lot of time those stories, like I still think they might just lose because that's how it works, I guess, with these teams a lot of time. But it's funny how a lot of time as teams like make their way from being new to being like kind of established, it seems like they're bumbling. Like, it kind of seems like they don't totally know what they're doing or that their execution isn't perfect or something, but then they sort of manage to get there anyway. I don't know. I feel like that's common with teams that do this.
And sometimes Cinderella just catches on fire. The next match, however, is going to be a good one because we have the Camel Empire versus MIF. The Camel Empire, of course, consisting of the pilots who flew as the thingy team in the Neo 2, New Eden Open 2. And they got second place there, and they are not to be trifled with, as in they're not to be underestimated, should we say. And the bans for this match are a little curious. So the Camel Empire have banned out the Vargur and the Golem, with MIF banning out the Heretic and the Rattlesnake.
All right. That does actually kind of make sense. When I see those bans, I would expect that the Camel Empire is going to bring a lot of damps, a lot of huge damps in the form of Celestices or Maulus, or maybe even like damp armor Merlins or something crazy like that. And MIF, I don't know. The Rattleship's a great ship to ban out. Like, it's a strong ship. But again, Gila slides through, so
Yeah.
kind of dangerous.
The Gailas are usually the core of any team, so
Yeah, especially in the last couple matches. And Camel Empire, a lot of their members came from Exodus last year, and they actually flew that very setup last year, the 2 Claymore, 3 Gila setup. So.
I think coming into this tournament, everyone regarded the Camel Empire after that great showing as kind of the new hope to kind of kill, I suppose, continuing the Star Wars analogy, the kind of the Darth Vader of Hydra and the Emperor of Pandemic Legion. Like, they're the guys everyone's thinking, these are the guys that have a really legitimate shot of making it not a PL Hydra final.
I read some things that like they're like super legit. I read that they're like the #1 team.
I believe one of the ex-commentators has very strong views on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
let's look at you accusing me.
Me?
I don't know.
I don't know, I think Camel Empire will
ex-commentator.
probably just run over MIF in this one. I don't want to take anything away from MIF. They're in the winners bracket, so they've done something right. But I think the Camel Empire are just gonna crush them.
There's also, with the ban system, there's the other fact to consider that the Vargur Golem ban might actually be a bait.
Could be.
That they're sort of posturing to say, oh, we're bringing a lot of ECM, and if the other team like reads it and believes it, what then?
Yeah, you can do a lot of mind games with banning. Like, I've had like a terrible time. I was captain of like the PL Neo team. I was like, oh, I'm gonna play some great mind games with these bans. But the other team were just like, okay, well, we didn't want those ships anyway. I'm not reading into anything you're saying. We don't have enough time to actually adapt to that. So you can really shoot yourself in the foot if you try and play, if you get too creative, I guess is the way to call it.
We're saying MIF the underdogs here, but I think this is kind of a really cool opportunity for them. They've got a awesome shot at coming at one of the teams, as we said before, everyone considers the best. If they take these teams down, MIF is suddenly massively on the map for everyone. And even if they do lose, which we kind of expect they will, they've still got the lower bracket, you know, they've still got that cushion to fall upon. Even if they lose again, they can do a good showing, they can learn a lot from the match. So, like, I think MIF should still be going to this with a really positive attitude.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Is it true that Thingy was practice partners or worked really closely with Hydra?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious.
They sort of spar sometimes.
Okay.
They don't like share all their setups and stuff.
Yeah.
But they are very familiar with one another.
Okay.
At least their early round setups.
I thought, even though the ex-commentator speech you're sort of referring to, had kind of a lot of stuff going on. One thing that was really interesting that came up through that was the idea of teams getting good through association with good teams. And I don't know, I was wondering kind of your opinions about that since you've been part of PL. Like, do you see teams that like spin off from practicing with you or from being in any way associated? I don't know, maybe you guys don't need to rely on anyone else because you're bigger.
Well, like PL are super paranoid, right? And we don't like sharing anything at all. Like, we restrict every little bit of information because our sort of best tactic is just to take really good setups. Maybe they're not flown like perfectly. We're not like accused of being the best pilots ever, but we can take some really, really creative setups. And so that's how PL wins tournaments, so through the setup. So we don't want to give anything away.
So you're more than teaching people how to execute. You're just like protecting good information.
Yeah. So I mean, Waffles are a team that PL is associated with a lot on TQ, but during testing, like everything's cut off. We use separate forms, separate everything, and we never even spar with Waffles.
No, I mean,
There's also a bad reputation from previous tournaments to share tournament information too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even mean like within one tournament per se. More that like, you know, the kind of environment around good teams. How likely is that to create some, you know, new team after that one divides or after like they pass off information to some team like between years or something?
Yeah,
like
well, a lot of it has to do. Oh, go.
Well, Waffles have been practicing with some really strong teams this year. Like, we were practicing with SSC for a while. And at the beginning, they kind of had a bit of the advantage in practice. But by going against a team that is very, very strong, it really gave us the opportunity that they would just destroy all our setups that just weren't right where they needed to be. So I think that having those strong practice partners, even if you don't copy anything they do, I think that they really show you what is good and what is bad, which is so important.
So the match is ready. What are your predictions for it?
Camel.
Yeah.
I think Camel's going to take this, and they're going to have like a really damp team, really strong damp team.
A wet team, if you would say.
Yeah.
Their ad that they the ad that they submitted for this weekend. Wow, English is really hard. Really convinced me. So I'm going with Camel as well.
In Eve, the only thing worth more than ISK is trust. This October 4th in Amsterdam, Eve is real.
Welcome back, everyone, to this next match of the 12th Alliance Tournament. This is CCB Fozzie, joined once again by Bacchanalian, and we have one of our most anticipated matches of the day because it's Camel Empire, who a lot of people are expecting to be extreme contenders here, versus MIF. And Camel Empire has brought an almost exact copy of the Hydra setup from the first 2 weekends, which isn't too surprising. As Elise said, when you ban out the Vargar and Gold, it probably means lots of damps, and this team has about as many damps as you can fit. It's triple Sleipnir. They are artillery fit, with Scimitar, Kitsune, double Celestis, triple Flycatcher, double Mollis. Why don't you tell us a bit about the MIF team, Back?
Well, the MIF team has come with, as you might expect, a triple Lorenzo team. 2 Sleipnirs, which I believe you said are autocannon fit, Scimitar, Saber, 3 Worms, which is actually an awful lot of DPS from some frigates, and a Thrasher, which is kind of arbitrary. I guess used to a couple points there, but MIF does come in 1 point up, because Camel Empire, I guess, brought a 99-point team, but I don't think it's going to matter a whole heck of a lot. I think those Sleipnirs are going to light things up.
Yeah, so we're about to see. The match has now begun. MIF, of course, has a much larger attack bar with all the DPS, but Camel Empire's control bar is huge and MIF's is tiny, and we see that control applied right away as all the damps hit. And Camel Empire trying to alpha some Sabers. They actually didn't successfully alpha that Saber in the first hit, but we'll see if they can pick it up before the
Really
Scimitar
good job
gets
by
in.
that Scimitar to lock up the Saber right away. There were reps on at the moment he took his first volley, but it looks like the damps have finally broken his lock, as he is no longer repping that Saber, and the Saber is in low armor. Celestis for Near Gun is getting repped. Okay.
Yep.
I guess he's taking a little
there
bit of
was a
damage
web
now.
on him, so
Okay.
he was taking a bit of damage for a moment
Just a
there.
preemptive rep.
Yeah, but the web had cleared off pretty quickly. It looks like he managed to get out of range of the worm that was tackling him. And of course, that Saber is taking damage, but this is very different than what we've been seeing from when Hydra flew this setup. Ships were dying much more quickly there. Here, MIF has been able to keep them alive. And this is actually, I think, a pretty good setup to bring against this kind of arty Sleipnir team, because you're very mobile. It's very easy to get transversal up. It's very easy to get on top of these Sleipnirs and start causing them big problems.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this Larry or Lorenzo of Farag goes. He is in fairly low shields now. It looks like the Sleipnirs have changed damage to him, but he's not getting any reps yet. Scimitar may not be able to lock him, but he's not going down as fast as you might expect. Kitsune for Zabos taking a little bit of damage as well, but the Lorenzo is into armor now, and that's going to be a big loss for MIF.
Yep, and he's not getting reps right now. So, I mean, the damps on the Scimitar have completely blocked out any reps on him, and he is down. That being said, 1 Mollis off the field from Camel Empire, and that is a boundary violation. Lord Relos has flown out of the arena in his Mollis, and that might start relieving a bit of the damp pressure off of MIF.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a throw from Lord Carlos, given the Camel Empire had not lost a ship yet, and that was the argument for them being the top team in the tournament. That is no longer the case. They have thrown a ship out. So we have a Saber and a Gila down on the MIF side, Mollis down on the Camel Empire side, and looks like damage coming across on the Worm of Nepik now.
Dralar in his Scimitar for the thingy Camel Empire team, taking a good amount of damage. And
Kitsune just got volleyed into armor, it looks like, and he is off the field, so that's 1 less E-War ship on the Camel Empire side. Control bar, though, is still huge, and it's still completely getting used right
I mean, there's a lot of great damps here. It's stopping the Scimitar from being useful, but it isn't stopping the damage, because the damage coming from drones and shorter range autocannons. The Scimitar of Draenor there is taking damage still. He's hovering at about half shields. He's dropping it below that, boosting up, but he's ASB tanking, so once he goes into reload, he might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, the MIF still definitely have a shot to get back in this. If they can get through that Scimitar and they can start clearing off other ships, Camel Empire need to get more ships down before that happens, because I think inevitably, like you say, it's going to happen. They lost a Worm there just a second ago, another Worm in low shields, but the Scimitar is managing to rep it, so doing a good job there and keeping up what they can, buying time.
So Draenor is outrunning a lot of the medium shield or medium drones that are following him, but he's also outrunning his own team's medium shield bots. They've now got on top of him, so now he's going to be taking more damage, but also repping more, and we'll have to see whether that's enough to keep him alive. It looks like he decided to let himself get within range of those drones.
Well, it looks like Apollo Balthar's Sleipnir starting to take some damage. There's a web now on that Scimitar. That's going to be serious trouble for him. Those autocannon Sleipnirs are going to do a lot of damage. One of them, Corvin 1, is taking an awful lot of damage into low, very low shields. So it looks like the Camel Empire did a quick switch to primary and just volley his shields there.
We'll see if he boosts. I'm not seeing any boost from him. It looks like they may have been relying entirely on the Scimitar. Always dangerous when you're up against Damps because the Sleipnir is dropping without getting any reps on him at all.
Yeah, that's going to be an incredibly bad turn of events. And there he goes. He's off the field. Camel Empire managed to squeeze out that. But they're not looking as convincing as you might expect here. I mean, I feel like there was a good long while there where MIF had a chance to get back in this match. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Another volley takes a good chunk of half the shields now for BSL's Sleipnir down on the MIF side.
And meanwhile, the
worm off the field. Two
well.
worms off the field. Okay, so the support war has been completely won now by Camel Empire, really. Just a Thrasher on the field. One of the flycatchers on the Camel Empire team is webbed down. But Sleipnir for BSL, low armor. There he did pull some shields back, so he has ASB fit. I don't know if Corvin just didn't, I don't know what.
Didn't run it,
maybe
I'm not sure.
Maybe he accidentally reloaded it, but there we go. That's Sleipnir lower armor even now. What did we lose there?
A flycatcher.
Flycatcher
died. That one was not a boundary violation. Even though he died fast, he actually died to the damage that hit him. And we're seeing a Thrasher and a Sleipnir dying around the same time for MIF.
So really just Camel Empire cleaning up right now. As long as once the Sleipnir goes into reload, that's going to be over. The Scimitar's still not landing reps on it.
Camel Empire, again, demonstrating the power of these damps. We've seen these super damp teams, and another Flycatcher drops off the field, work very effectively. In this case, they didn't actually reduce the damage incoming very much, but what they have done is effectively neutralize the Scimitar. The Scimitar has not been able to rep anyone because his lock range, I'm sure, is like 10 kilometers.
Right, and the Sleipnir is now off the field. The Scimitar has a natively pretty short lock range to begin with, and they're really, really susceptible to damps. So it was a unfortunate thing for them to have to run into. You start to wonder with a setup like this where you have fast ships that are going to be running around and you're running a Scimitar, if you want to consider banning out damp ships. There were no damp ships banned, and that's really the biggest weakness of a Scimitar are damps. And if you're not set up to win that support war early, then you're going to wind up with no Logi, and essentially that's what happened there. So looks like the Logi pilot on Camel Empire got a little bored, threw some reps up there on the Sleipnirs. Are taking a little bit of damage, but from two Lorenzos, not going to do a whole lot. Meanwhile, 0-1 is losing his shields, probably going to die shortly.
Yeah, so Haxor in the Scimitar has decided his way around the damps is to like orbit the Gila at 500. He has gotten right into his teammate to get the reps on him, but even that actually is not going to be enough to save him at this point.
Yeah, it looks like, there we go, finally got the reps. Maybe he's also I don't know, maybe he's scan-res damped once they got close and he couldn't lock, but yeah, pulling back a little bit of shield's not going to be enough. There he goes. It's going
not against all this DPS and the Alpha too.
And the Alpha, exactly. You're going to volley in between cycles there and get him. So looks like the Scimitar for Haxor is going to be the next target for Camel, and because he was right there, why not just switch damage to him? He's at the same spot. He's moving pretty quick though. It's going to be a little harder for the Sleipnirs to track with his low signature radius, though they do have a target painter on him. There go his shields. He's going to get a booster 2 off. There goes his armor.
Not much of a boost.
And there it is. So
of course, one of the downsides of a team like this Camel Empire one is you don't have a lot of tackle. There isn't a lot of webs you can apply to your the other team because all of your small ships are focused on anti-support light missiles and on damps across the board. But obviously they're still able to apply the damage well enough. They've spread out the Sleipnirs pretty effectively, so these Arty Sleipnirs are keeping themselves at different angles to the target, which makes it very hard for their opponents to get up transversal against them.
Right. I mean, somebody somewhere is going to be able to track you. Of the 3, you can get transversal on 1 or 2, but not all of them. Half shields now for Dimitri Craig, and Camel Empire just cleaning up here in a solid and convincing victory, not an absolute wipe, but they did a good job here. So that'll drop MIF into the losers bracket on a much tougher road, as we've said. Camel will continue in the winners bracket, and Camel actually are lucky on the side of the bracket they're on. Comparatively, I think they have the easier run here. They don't face a PL or a Hydra. I mean, just looking at Rokapel's run, because it's my team. If they win this next match, they go up against Pandemic Legion, and if they win that match, then they go up against Hydra. And it's like Camel wouldn't face one of those teams until the semifinal. So they're in pretty good shape after this. They have to keep performing like this, and they're going to go a long way. And
I mean, there are still a lot of tough teams in their bracket. They've got Exodus or Tuskers, the winner of that. Their next match against TNT. There is still some tough matches, but you're right. It's not quite the same as facing the defending champions.
PL and Hydra back to back.
Yeah. So that is the end of the match. Camel Empire winning with a convincing victory, but of course losing 5 ships, which is going to drop them to like
8th place
or something like that. Geez. Yeah, but well, I'm sure they'll get over it, and we'll send you back to the analysis desk.
Align. Align. The clock e bomb. Via, ragazzi, tutto. E via il jump bridge.
Do you like spaceships? Do you like explosions? Airlock Media. We make your corporation look good.
Welcome back to the desk. Joining me is Apophny, Elise Randolph, and Kill 2. I myself and CCP Gargant. So, gentlemen, what did you think?
Called it again. I'm 2 for 2 in the last couple matches. So Camel took basically the Hydra team. Lots of damps. They banned out the Shield Marauders, which would kind of screw their damps over. And they looked a little shaky. They weren't like boom headshotting everyone. But it was convincing to me.
You could still make a music video out of what just happened.
I guess.
Yeah.
They'll get there.
Yeah. But MIF took the Sleipnir Gila core again. They didn't really look too comfortable with the setup. It's a setup that looks like they kind of borrowed, or they said, hey, this looks really good, we're just going to take it and fly it.
Which is actually, it's worth mentioning, is perfectly valid. But I do agree with you. It requires not only that you copy the comp, but that you spend a lot of time with it. A lot of time.
I think if they could run this match 10 times, and then they would probably win eventually. Like, they'd get really good at it. They had the chance to win, I should say. The Worms did a really good tactic when the Camel Scimitar was kind of kiting, going overload his mic warp driving, or overloading his mic warp drive, and outrunning the Gila drones. The MIF Worms just kind of zoomed at the Scimitar and just like suicide tackled him. Unfortunately, the Gilas had already pulled their drones at that point and were going on someone else. So the suicide was just pure suicide. It had no good things coming out of it. But still, convincing win for Camel.
Very.
One of the things I like about this kind of new RT Sleipnir thing we're seeing become more and more popular is that if we look at medium RTs on Tranquility, for example, with the exception of the ever-popular RT Rupture fleets, kind of artilleries and projectiles in general are kind of in a bit of a lull. We've kind of got, hybrids kind of reigning